this evening we have Gary Flynn.
Yay, Gary! Yes, let's see, no, gosh. They have there so that people can sign up when people come up.
Thank you, Yaz.
You're welcome. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't say Yaz, you have to say Yaz.
I like Yaz. You say Yaz.
Name wrong, I'm
But
sorry.
I say I'm like Yaz. Because everybody's like,
You do know that us boomers, our point of reference for that is an outfielder from the Boston Red Sox going up, maybe Strimsky. That is our point of reference for Yaz.
Oh.
If you have no reading, you know nothing about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Collier Strimsky was his name, and his nickname was Yaz.
Yes.
I have.
That's why you gotta know.
Yeah, well, you gotta know sports. Is that yours? Okay, well, you can leave it up there if you want. I just want to make sure you don't forget it.
Of course, I can add that over at Tenacity Brewing, they have a nice homemade root beer, which is good for those who are of the non-alcoholic kind. And for the past few weeks, I've been giving bits and pieces of the book I'm working on called Lost Flint, which should be coming out next year. I've been neglecting to plug my first two books which are published. Might as well do that now. There's my first book, Remembering Flint, Michigan, Stories from Vehicle City. The cover price is $19.99.
Only $19.99.
wow.
And my second book, Hidden History of Flint, with the cover price of $21.99.
Only $21.99.
So these are my two published books, Remembering Flint, Michigan, $19.99 cover price, and Hidden History of Flint, $21.99 cover price. Available at Barnes & Noble, Flint Arts gift shop, Sloan Museum gift shop, online through usual places, my trunk.
Totem books.
Totem Books may have it.
Wow.
So it's available whether you're local or out of town. You can get it. Now I'll go to my latest work in progress. I had mentioned last month that I was busy working on lost schools. Right now I'm working on lost houses of worship. I've already covered synagogues and Catholic churches and some of the more mainline Protestant churches. Just have to pick bits and pieces of other various Protestant churches that Lost Flint would have, but they would be closed, consolidated, or downsized. I'm not counting churches that moved out to the suburbs, though, but that's what I'm working on right now. So here's the section of Lost Flint about lost schools in the city of Flint, Lost Flint Community Schools. The Flint School District rose with the rise of the automobile industry and fell with the industry's decline in the area. In the 1913/1914 school year, enrollment was 8,091 students, but rise steadily over the years with several schools built in the 1920s prior to the Great Depression, with additional schools built in the 1950s with the post-World War II baby boom through the 1970s. Restrictive covenants in place until the 1960s in most subdivisions limited where African Americans could live in Flint to the aforementioned Floral Park and St. John Street neighborhoods. The Flint Board of Education also practiced racial segregation in the way elementary school boundaries were drawn as new schools were built, especially in the 1950s. As enrollment swelled, the Flint schools in the 1950s and 1960s built primary units resembling ranch houses in neighborhoods often near school boundaries. From 1950 until 1966, 116 primary units were built, usually 4 in a neighborhood serving kindergarten through 3rd grade. When the primary units were no longer needed, they were sold and usually converted into private homes, although primary units in zoned commercial areas often became commercial businesses. Enrollment peaked with 47,867 students for the 1968/68 school year, then began to decline as some Flint families moved to suburban areas. Enrollment fell below 40,000 with 38,086 students for the 1977/78 school year, with a combination of the middle-class flight to the suburbs and the beginning of factory closings. Enrollment fell below 30,000, with 29,556 students for the 1990-91 school year. For the popularity of privately owned charter schools, enrollment fell even more rapidly. The 2004-05 school year saw enrollment fall to 19,204. Enrollment fell below 10,000 for the 2012-13 school year, with 9,585 students. The 2015-2016 school year saw 4,875 students enrolled. As the 1970s began, enrollment at some schools was still swelling. In 1969, Williams School was built to replace the predominantly black Roosevelt School, which was in the path of the I-475 expressway, and the predominantly white Lewis School, which was annexed by the adjacent Lowell Junior High School to relieve overcrowding. In 1971, a new Northern High School opened to relieve overcrowding at a campus containing the old Northern High School, Emerson Junior High School, and Garfield Elementary School. Under the new arrangement at the old Northern/Emerson/Garfield campus, Garfield served K through 4th grades. Emerson Junior High became Emerson Intermediate School, serving 5th through 7th grades, and the old Northern became the new Emerson Junior High, serving 8th and 9th graders. 3 new elementary schools were built in the early 1970s, King and Summerfield Schools in 1970 and Wilkins in 1972. Roosevelt was used for special education programs until it was torn down in 1974 to make way for I-475. Declining enrollments in neighborhoods decimated by urban renewal or expressway construction led to the closing in 1971 of Clark School due to the nearby expressway interchange construction, and Fairview School because of the St. John Street neighborhood it was in was being wiped out by I-475 construction and urban renewal. Fairview was then leased to the Genesee County Regional Drug Abuse Commission. Increasing maintenance costs led to the closing of Flint's oldest elementary school, built in 1902, Doyle Schools, with the Opportunities Industrialization Center, or OIC, leasing the school, but was abandoned by 1977. 2 other aging schools closed in 1976, Oak School, built in 1908, and Parkland School, built in 1913. The Flint Police briefly used Oak for community programs, and Parkland housed the Whitney M. Young Junior Street Academy. In 1976, under pressure from the federal government, the Board of Education adopted a plan in an attempt to desegregate schools by making several schools magnet and specialty schools in a voluntary program. It was not really successful, and the flight to the suburbs, along with the formation of charter schools, made matters worse. With a sharp fall-off in student enrollment, many schools were closed. Kennedy School closed in 1977, with students transferred to Homedale. Development of River Village in the Doyle urban renewal area led to the redevelopment of Doyle School, replacing a later addition with new construction while preserving the original 1902 building when a new Doyle Writer School opened. In 1982, Stevenson School closed, which was sold to Hurley Medical Center and torn down, while Lowell Junior High abandoned the former Lewis School, which became Mount Adult High School's Lewis Center, which closed in 1987. Zimmerman Junior High closed in 1984, which became Mount Adult High School Zimmerman Center, which closed in 2013. The big drop-off in enrollment in 1988 led to the closings of Bryan and Lowell Junior High, as well as Cummings, Jefferson, Lincoln, Walker, and Selby schools. Dewey School closed in 1991. The 2002 marked the closings of Cook, Johnson, Martin, and Pearson schools. Martin and Pearson students were moved to the old Bryan Junior High, which had served as Mount Adult High School's Bryan Center and became Bryan Elementary. More schools closed in 2003 with Cody, Homedale, Lawndale Avenue, Manley, and Selby elementary schools closing, as well as the Lowell Accelerated Academics Academy in the old junior high building, which from 1990 to 1997 served as a private valley school. Longfellow Junior High and King Elementary closed in 2006, followed by Whittier Classical Academy in the old junior high building, plus Cummings and Gundry School in 2008. 5 elementary schools closed in 2009 with Anderson, Civic Park, Garfield, Merrill, and Stewart schools closing that year, as well as the aging Central High. 2 more elementary schools closed in 2010 with Wilkins and Williams. Coolidge School closed in 2011 with students moving to the reopened Cummings School. McKinley Junior High, along with elementary schools Bunch and Summerfield, closed in 2012. Northern High, as well as Bryant, Dordt, and Washington schools closed in 2013. Carpenter Road and Cummings schools closed in 2015. Northwestern High closed in 2018 and was converted to Flint Junior High School. And as you know, there's talk about closing more schools, but we don't know what's going to happen until later on this summer when we decide what the fate of remaining Flint schools would be. So that's my piece for this month. I should add that all the bits and pieces of my forthcoming book I'm sharing in the Hidden History of Flint book Facebook page. The Facebook page is titled Hidden History of Flint, the title of my second book. And I have been shooting videos very, very occasionally. Jenny did show off a rather mundane video of me showing off my old garage door opener, which still works fine. And just last week, I showed off my 40-year-old Raleigh 10-speed bicycle, which is right now hooked up to an exerciser I got from Aldi's last fall. So that's the latest YouTube video I put up. You can just find it under Raleigh 10-speed bicycle, and you'll find it.
Does it tell you how many miles you rode and stuff?
I have no idea since there's no odometer attached to it.
Okay.
But I'll take it over to Recycled Bike Shop. The shop is right next door to Good Beans Cafe, and Cassie or John do show up in season or on appointment days to pick up or drop off a bicycle. And when the weather is nicer, on market days they'll be there, but when the weather gets nicer, I'll take my Raleigh 10-speed over there to get it adjusted. And that's what I have for this month, and I thank you very much.
Mark off. Alex.
Lovely. I always like to see what people like. You look very interesting, so I was curious to see what you had going on. Very interesting. I didn't know any of that, so I recommend promoting your book more at Totem. Just saying.